You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Ken Alcaraz.
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what do you do professionally?
All right, so by day I am a web developer. I work for a New York-based insurance company. I'm not sure if you're familiar with One Beacon Insurance.
One Beacon Insurance. Does that mean
Mm-hmm.
like they're supposed to light the way or something? They're a beacon of hope.
Ah, they're supposedly the one. I don't think so. But yeah, I work for them as a web developer, but I am based in the Philippines, being essentially being hired by this agency whose account is One Beacon. So in essence, I get paid really less than my counterparts, but I do the same work.
So when it comes to web development, though, now do you get to know the algorithms and all the strategies to help bring kind of content or more people to your site?
Oh, that's not what I make. What I do is I work with the tools that the underwriters use, rather, wherein that's what they use to create their policies for their customers. So I'm not on the marketing side. I'm not the hey, why don't check out this our insurance website or something. I'm more on the I work with the tools that One Beacon's employees use themselves. So if they see something on their platform, say, hey, this button's not lined up, or the policy that I'm printing, it's not printing the customer that I'm writing for, they get to us. They blame us.
You deal with all making sure that people are able to contact them and do all these types of things, making sure the site looks nice.
Yep, exactly.
Now, how'd you get into web development? Is this something you've always wanted to do?
Uh, I wouldn't say 100%. As a kid, I used to play with my Windows 90, what was it, 92? I always actually break my PC because I keep finding them some weird folders in my computer.
And
Like,
how
hey,
much
this looks like.
porn there is out there that is not looking like porn. I used to click. I swear to God, let me tell you something. Kids today are never going to know the struggle of trying to play a video game online on your computer, like going to a site like One More Level or whatever it was called, Armor Games, and
Mm-hmm.
getting a bombardment of just porn sites popping up like
Yep.
granny'swhoopee.com, 18 years and up. You get 50 million windows that pop up. You're like, son of a bitch, I'm trying to click through. I'm just trying to play Little
Yeah.
League Soccer, damn it.
What was I playing then? I was playing Newgrounds.
There
It
you
was a big.
go. All right, throwing me
Yeah,
way
no.
back to my school days when I should have been learning.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know how many times I got in trouble in class because you don't give computers to kids in class. You just don't do it.
Nope.
And
No, it doesn't work.
yeah, they're like, "You're gonna do some research, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." As soon as they walk away, I'm on the freaking internet going through God knows what, watching movies and shit. And next thing I know, I get like 50 windows that pop up, and I'm trying to exit out. My teacher walks over. He's like, "What's going on here?" It's like all these porn sites. I'm like, "Dude, I don't even know, man. At this point, just dump something on this computer because it's trash."
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I always break my PC that way. And then a friend of my dad, he's like our computer guy because he like works in a computer shop, and he quote unquote fixes the PC. So like right after everything looks fine, and then some weird fucking porn ads come up in my desktop. I haven't even touched anything. Like I asked my dad, Dad, what the hell, what is this? He's like, fuck. He's like under his breath, fuck. And he said, "We'll get that fixed. We'll get that fixed." Like,
Dude, I see.
sounds fishy.
Every time like someone grabs their computer and they take it into a computer repair place and they're just like Yeah, I had some stuff on here I once saved, and the guy, I wonder how much that guy just looks at your internet history, like at all the porn you watch. Like
Hmm.
they have to be like the best blackmailers in the business. Look, a while back, probably like maybe 6 or 7 months ago, I had spilled coffee on my computer, and it
Uh-huh.
was perfectly fine. I was like, all right, I'm good, good. The next day, go back into my studio to go hop on and do a podcast. My whole computer says no hard drive found. I'm like, hold on a second.
Oof.
What does that mean? So I'm getting a black screen that just has these white letters over there. My whole hard drive was fried. So I went in there and gave it to him, and he's like looking at me. He's like, "Did you drop it?" I'm like, "No, I didn't fucking drop it." And he goes, "Did you spill something on it?" I was like, "Yeah, but I cleaned it up and it worked perfectly fine." He goes, "Okay." He goes, did you download something on here?" I was like, "No, I was not on some site or something. This is my professional computer. If I'm gonna watch porn, I'm gonna do it on my phone because I don't give a shit." And he opened it up and then actually called me back like not even like an hour later and was like, "Yeah, your hard drive is completely trash." And I was like, it's just crazy to think the slightest things that can go on with a PC. And first of all, if you really want to take it even further than that, how much information those guys probably know about you? They know more than your parents do.
Oh, they definitely do.
Well, when it comes to web development, you probably notice a little bit more too, like just with the aspect of how a site is designed.
So some of the I would I would generally say some of the codes that were uh like way back, they weren't built so much to be optimized. I mean, I would just say it's like they weren't built to scale. So that's pretty much what happens whenever like resources gets used up too fast over in our servers. It's because how they code these algorithms. So the new guys, us rather, they we are called upon to like fix like a decade's worth of shit programming.
Is that probably the biggest problem that you face is just the amount of like all the bugs and stuff that you probably face?
I mean, it's an insurance company. They handle like a lot of, not a lot, but like a small number, but with big businesses. I mean, like I would say $100,000 per month in premium. Those kinds of they don't deal with like personal insurance. They deal with like specialty.
I feel like when you're dealing with other companies too, just the amount that like how many companies are you dealing with to have just a wide variety of just software in general? Like you're looking at people that
Exactly. Yeah.
have the brand new shit, then you have like the newer updated version. It's easy for you to connect with them. And then you got people that are still rolling off stuff from like the Stone Age where you try and get them onto your site or something. Next thing you know, they're like, "Oh, they can't do this. They got to update to a third party. They got to install fucking Firefox." I don't know why every day I have to install Firefox, but
Uh, yeah, it does happen, and actually, it's one of the things that we are trying to do. Recently, we're trying to sunset this old software that we use for the insurance, and trying to get what was that .net to work, but things aren't working so well with the migration. So we gotta roll back a couple of steps, try again.
that's a weird one too. If you want to put .net, .org, or .com or something, it immediately socializes you into one category. If you're .org, you're like a nonprofit, very very good looking person, like very very helpful to the community. Then if you're .net, it's like you got maybe half your head shaved, you look kind of a little bummy, you got maybe you're missing a shoe, and then you go to .com and you're just straight corporate, like you're just like
Yep, yep.
tuxedo, freaking ready to roll day with a giant cigar in your mouth, like I'm about to go knock down some children homes.
You know, and actually moving away from the web dev. What I wanted to actually talk about is the thing that I do on the side.
I was gonna
It's not
segue
video.
into it, damn it.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
Beat
you
you to
mess
it.
up the show. Don't do that.
Oh.
We get it. Okay. But no, seriously, where like you don't obviously see this going farther with web development, which is kind of
No, no, no. I don't think so.
brings you into your passion a little bit too. Actually, what I am actually sipping on, which is my coffee. Tell me a little bit about this coffee exploration, or what would you call it that you're trying to get into?
Right. So, what I do, what I love to do rather, is brew specialty coffee. I think the keyword there is specialty, wherein for every coffee that you get, every cup that you drink, you know the story that goes behind that cup.
That depends on the coffee you're getting, man. I get
Yeah, yeah.
Folgers. There's no see.
There's no story there.
People always say like, "Oh, I only drink this brand of coffee. I only drink Sumatra. I only drink Spice. I only drink this." I'm like, coffee's coffee. I drink it and I put something in it to make it taste like it, mostly because it keeps me awake. But also, there's a thing behind it too when you really do get a very nice coffee. Like there are some blends I don't have to put anything into, like a nice maybe $20 for like a small little pack or something. If I drink that, I don't need to put anything into it. I can just drink it straight out of the pot. It's nothing like if you drink coffee black, like my grandfather used to tell me, he's like, you can get coffee from anywhere. You get it from a gas station. That shit'll keep you up. He goes, you don't put anything in it, just drink it black. It's used to how I used to drink them until I found like all the syrups and stuff in there. But for someone that makes their own coffee, you probably see syrups and all those flavorings that you get to put into it. Probably is very, very harmful just because it kills the natural flavor of coffee.
Yeah, actually you got that part right. Because in my opinion, coffee is meant to be drunken black, and good coffee, specialty coffee, the flavors that you get are so diverse, and it tells you a bit about the region that it's from. For example, I have with my hand right now coffee from Myanmar, a country from Southeast Asia, and what I'm tasting is a coffee with white grapes, a bit of honey, a bit of nougat. That's how diverse coffee can express itself. If you if you allow yourself to explore specialty coffee, not just that, going back to the health issue, all these added sugars, all these high fructose glucose syrups, they are a big factor in obesity. Actually, I'm not sure if you know that, but
A lot of the artificial sugars, such as like
yeah,
aspartame and all these things, actually a leading cause in diabetes and early pre-development, just because it's giving your body what they call fake sugar. Um,
yes,
it
exactly.
it kind of sucks because I mean I'm a proprietor of doing it myself. I'm a big fitness freak, but when it comes to
Oh,
how what I put in my coffee, I put so much of this syrup and stuff. You can get they call them skinny syrups, all that stuff. It's like if it says 0 calories, I'll be more than happy to drink it, but if you look at all the flavorings that are inside of it, I can tell like before I have a coffee with that syrup inside there, I feel perfectly fine. Then afterwards, my stomach is a little bit upset and it feels a little bit bloated. Um,
yeah,
the problem is they make it taste way too damn good, and we live in a world now where people they're like, oh, it'll go away in an hour, it'll go away in this. We live in a world now where it's starting to become more health conscious, but we're doing it in a really, really weird way where zero
yeah,
calorie
yeah.
items and things of this sort are actually not better for you. We think we've kind of been brainwashed by just companies in general telling them like, oh, sugar's not bad, it's fat. If you eat fat, you're going to get fat. Then 10 years later they end up figuring out that's all a lie. It was a lie by the sugar
And
industry.
it's the other way around. Like, holy shit.
we we're in a topsy turvy world, man. Coffee is strange though because I never used to like it. I actually will give you like my own first coffee impression. Drank it black one time, hated the shit out of it, never drank it again. And then, I mean, I used to kill energy drinks like crazy, like 4 20-ounce Red Bulls just for breakfast with a bag of Skittles. We're talking about like back in high school. My brother's girlfriend was like, you're not going to make it to 26. You're like 17 years old. You're killing 4 20-ounce Red Bulls for breakfast, and then you're drinking like 8 more throughout the day. And I was like, yeah, it's good. I like it for the taste. But then I found coffee and I drink like almost a pot a day, man. I mean, a lot of times, but I'm not getting what you would call probably in your experience. If you saw the coffee I was drinking compared to the coffee you always drank, you would give me so much shit because the coffee that you probably taste or like me, I'm just a guy that's like, hey, if it's hot, I'll drink it.
Well, I would certainly respect your opinion about coffee. To each his own. Actually, in our world, in the coffee world, taste is king. If you like what you drink, that's fine. No one's gonna take that away from you. I know that it would be a bit relative to say that like this person brews it that this way and I brew it this way, and I'm going to tell that person, hey, you're brewing your shit wrong. No, that's wrong. I'm wrong. That being said, um, i- in our current situation, our current world, you've been seeing these stories wherein like you have to know the origin of the food that you're getting, so that you know that the farmers are being paid well. The say for meats, rather for meats in this case, in a case, the animals are being treated fairly. And I think that this is in the case of specialty coffee. uh you would know that it's specialty coffee if, like, one, if it tastes good by itself, and two, if you can trace the the supply chain where it comes from. Like, for this one, the bag that I got my coffee from, it says it comes from Myanmar. It comes from this particular farm. It was grown in this specific altitude. It was grown by a specific farmer. And a lot of information about the origin of that coffee goes into the bag. That gives me the idea that, hey, by buying this bag, by brewing this coffee, I am supporting this person's life. That's one of the other aspects of specialty coffee.
That's what you hope, though. You got to think how many companies might just tell you this rich backstory, thinking that's going to enhance the flavor of their coffee. It could be like a placebo effect. I mean, half the time I look at a coffee thing like Folgers, or I look at something like Sky Mountain Coffee, and I'm reading it, it's like on the back of an angel wings, it was dropped or something, and then it gives me this like 30-minute backstory where there's like multiple panels you got to keep flipping and shit, and I'm like, I'm still
Yeah,
reading this,
yeah.
holy hell. And you're going through the whole entire thing, and you get to the ending and you're like, wow. And then you taste it and you're like, that doesn't taste anything like this. That tastes like complete crap.
No, no, I do get what you mean. But that's actually one of the things that in specialty coffee, that they're fighting for the traceability and transparency of the coffees that the roasters sell. They want each other to sell their coffees with the story of that particular coffee, for the consumers to know where it's coming from, to give them the idea that, as I've said, they're helping that particular person's livelihood, as opposed to just having coffee from created by a huge robot arm in a factory with loads of chemicals pumped into it.
Yeah, that's got to be a big problem. Like, first of all, you brewing your own coffee too, like you probably, much like anybody that starts creating their own and becoming more involved in something, you get to more know information about it, such as like certain like key features to make it taste better, certain things that are bad for it, certain things. You start being able to kind of become a connoisseur, I would say. Like, the weird thing about coffee though is one place that I could say, in your mind, what would be the most popular coffee brand or shop?
Over here in the Philippines, of course, it would be Starbucks. We're
That's
heavily,
everywhere, everywhere.
yeah,
I don't know how. It's like when I say fast food, the first thing that comes to your mind is probably McDonald's or some other big
yep,
chain. Starbucks capitalized the market, but if you notice, their coffee is not coffee. It is
it's shit.
it's I mean, it's good, but I don't drink it because I don't like a lot of the people that go there. If you have a Bluetooth in
Uh,
Look, if you have a Bluetooth in your head, I'm ripping it out. I'm sorry. Don't talk about it in line. I don't care. But if you got a Bluetooth in your ear and you're sitting there having a full on conversation, that just upsets me. But the factor is they capitalized the market and they stuck it in before everybody else did when it comes to
yep,
owning a coffee shop. We're starting to get
yep.
local shops down here, such as like Coffee Bean and all these other things that are becoming a little bit more popular. And people are going to them because they're starting to notice, wait a minute, Starbucks isn't selling me a coffee, they're selling me a fucking dessert.
Exactly.
I mean, I used to drink the first time I went to Starbucks, probably like junior year of high school. My buddy took me there. I was like, I'm not paying $6 for coffee. I don't even drink coffee. Why the hell do I want coffee? And he brought me there. He's like, "You're gonna get a caramel brulee frappuccino." I'm like, even saying that, I feel like I just lost my man card. And he was like, just go ahead and do it, dude. Just go ahead." I said, "Okay." So I walk up. I'm like, "Can I get a caramel broccoli frappuccino?" I think that's what it's called. I don't really know. And she's like, oh, I know what you want. And she goes, can I get your name? I'm like, Robbie. She's like, okay, cool. She spells it wrong, obviously. It's all right. That's what
Mm-hmm.
most people do. But I drank it and I was like, wow, this is like drinking like a milkshake or something, like something from Chick-fil-A. And then I ended up switching over to Java chip. Do you know how many calories are in a Java chip?
How many?
A venti Java chip. Because first of all, if you're going anywhere, you're never getting a small, you're never getting a medium,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yep.
always going venti. If it's 5 cents more, fuck it, right?
Yep.
And dude, in a venti Java chip, and I can't believe I did this when I was a fitness freak too. If I did it now, I would bloat up like a balloon. But 1,126 calories is in a venti Java chip.
Shit.
You know what they do in a Java chip?
Uh-huh.
They take half a bag of fucking Hershey's chocolate chips, those things you put in cookies, just dump that shit in the blender. I watched her make it. I was like, you're just dumping that in there? She's like, yeah. And wait, it gets better. I'm like, better? She starts dumping even more. She starts dumping chocolate syrup, fudge, all these other things. I'm like, oh my God. I drank it. You could feel the diabetes go through your body.
Might as well use an IV for that, huh?
Exactly. Let me tell you something. Being a person that just knows like anything about healthy or just eating maybe the right direction to go, that's not healthy.
Mm-hmm. No, I would agree.
I mean, you have to come across these places, you have to probably look at them a little bit differently too, just because of the fact you brew your own and you know what the whole
Yeah.
process and first of all, like have more of, I guess, I would say an awareness or just a gratitude towards the actual brew of a coffee.
Oh yeah, because the thing is for with Starbucks is that they the coffee, I would say, it's not the first thing that they sell. It's not the product. At least in our time, they primarily sell the atmosphere. They sell the experience. They sell these baristas saying, "Oh, I know what you need. I'll get you what you want. What else do you need?" And they put on these such beautiful faces for you to look at. Hey, that barista is really cute. That barista is really pretty, and that's what you remember,
Yeah, they
not
distract you
the
with those
coffee.
fucking croissants too. Every time I walk by,
Oh,
like, what?
yeah.
Welcome to Starbucks. What can I get you? Can I get a coffee? What else do you want? What? What else do you want? Uh, I don't know. What do you have? We got CDs. You want to buy Michael Jackson's Thriller? I'm like, not right now, but I'll take a coffee. When it comes to the whole process of even brewing coffee in general, how did you get started? Like, did you just randomly start wanting to know more about coffee and be like, hey, let me order some so I can grow my own?
Because I started having a growing hatred for dessert coffees. Example, Starbucks.
Where did that come from?
It's like something that my dad told me. I guess because he drinks his coffee like really black, and he drank my coffee and said like that coffee shit. Like, you know what? I'll give it a try. I'll give my dad's weird opinion a try and drank Starbucks Americano. Had a sip without sugar, without cream, without anything. Like this tastes like soil. It tastes like charcoal. Why would my dad like it? And he said it keeps me up. That's his reason. And moving on, as I keep trying all these brewed coffees, I went from shop to shop, different kinds of coffee shops. I'll get your Americano. I'll get your brewed coffee. They taste pretty much the same. That's pretty strange for me because they describe the coffees to taste like this without this is without all the flavorings. That tastes like honey. It tastes like grapes. Like what the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about? And then I stumbled upon a friend of mine who's into specialty coffee, and he tells me, "Hey, like, you like coffee?" Yeah, I said, "Yeah, I fucking love coffee, but not I'm trying to transition into something that's different from the usual coffee." And take note, I didn't know what the end goal was. I didn't know what I was looking for. All I knew back then was that I did not like the coffee right now. That being said, he told me, "Hey, come to our cupping." It sounds strange, I know, but cupping in the specialty coffee world means essentially means coffee tasting. So I went. I went to this local roaster, and they had like small cups on a table, like 20 small cups with 20 different coffees. This one comes from Sumatra. This one comes from Indonesia. This one from Ethiopia, from Colombia, Brazil.
Wait, hold on. Time out.
And then it, yeah.
Sumatra's a place.
Yes.
I just saw a fucking tiger on the bag, and I figured that was like what they fused it with. They went to like a lion's den and ripped some hair off or something.
Yes, Sumatra is a place.
Okay. Well, thank you for informing me on that. I think I've just been living my life wrong the whole entire way. You can continue with your story. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so cup after cup, they asked me, hey, try this out. And then I did. Like, this does not taste like soil. In fact, this tastes like the things that I've been told. Honey, this one tastes like nuts. And what the hell? Why is this sour? I didn't like it, but it's different. And so I keep tasting all these coffees, and then I was genuinely curious. I asked the roasters, what is this? He said, specialty coffee. What's specialty coffee? And then the rabbit hole just ripped wide open, and I just headfirst dove into it. And I guess from there, they told me like, hey, if you want to brew your own coffee, you do this. You get you get a cup, you get a dripper, you get a grinder, you get some coffee, kettle, and you're all set. So most of the knowledge that I've gained about brewing specialty coffee is, I guess, half from scouring the internet and half from a group of friends that I was invited to and got introduced to. They were like long time coffee drinkers. They they're they've placed themselves in various parts of the supply chain for ethical specialty coffee production. So I've learned a lot about the technical aspect of specialty coffee, like how you brew, how you get these flavors out, and from there I got to be familiar with the the business side of it, like how much is a whole sack of coffee when you buy it from the farmers. Like, what are the things that the farmers face as problems in coffee production? Like, whether middlemen actually, they're the leading cause of high fucking prices. So it all actually, I actually gained a lot of knowledge within the span of what, 9 months, because I actually got started into coffee brewing last March. Actually, it's fairly recent.
Now, just with kind of switching over to the amount of information that you've kind of understood just through doing your own research and kind of brewing your own,
Mhm.
what have you found that are some of the misconceptions when it comes to coffee? It seems like everyone's like, oh, did you know the origin of coffee came from this? And I'm like, do you know how that story's complete bullshit? Everyone always talks about the bunch of goats that ate a bunch of whatever the beans or coffee beans or
Oh
something and
yeah.
started getting jumpy. That is a load of crap. That's not how coffee was originally inspired. People were using it for multiple different purposes. People were chewing on them for energy, because if you eat a coffee bean, I have, they do give a bit of an
Hmm.
energy stimulant. But
Hmm.
it's been used throughout Asian culture and so many different cultures too. But that story, though, people love it, and that's what adds a big factor. Like, oh, that's interesting, I never knew that. It's like an interesting fact that you find out about something, and then it makes you look at it a little bit differently. Then you start to do it more.
It's actually kind of interesting that you knew about that story, because I knew about that like quite recently. Just learning about the origins of coffee.
I learned about that when I was like 15. I was looking up goats
Oh
because
shit! Really?
I was trying to buy a goat, and then that article came up. We let's just say people stumble across the same stuff differently. Me, I was
Hmm.
an idiot trying to buy exotic animals for my home because I didn't want a dog, and then you, because you were passionate about doing something. You have a lot more of I would say a better story that doesn't make you look like an idiot.
Yeah. That story actually was is told to us by a lot of people, and it's. I mean, the consensus is that There's no like documented actual story for the origin of coffee. They just use that goat as the father of coffee.
Well, it's perfect too. I mean, the only thing is it's bad because it does give like, oh, that means we've been this fact is a lie. But it's good because it helps people get more interested into coffee in general. Now, people say, well, actually coffee's bad for you. It's really not. You have to do it in the right amount. Coffee is very, very good. It has so many beneficial things when it comes to the body. This is where I know a lot of information about coffee when it comes to health things, such as like, yeah, such as like when I was getting into working out, I was trying to find something that was like, I was doing fasting. I don't know if you've ever heard of fasting. You don't eat for like 12 to 16 hours, but I would work out before, I would work out after my fast or whatever. So I'd be going into a workout, not eating anything, really, really starving. The one thing I would have to help burn fat essentially was coffee because it helps speed up your metabolism and it doesn't really provide any calories. It's just 0 calories. So it puts really nothing into your stomach, but that starvation or that hunger effect, it goes away when you drink a coffee.
I would agree. Yeah. And I think you know more of the health benefits of coffee than me, but I do agree about those and the fact that it has 0 calories and no sugars. One thing actually I want to ask you is that I was talking to my friends about the difference between commodity and specialty coffee. Is that the misconception of people's stomachs getting upset when drinking coffee is like saying, "Oh, I'm hyper acidic. I can't drink coffee." What that's what and the my thinking for at least 27 years is that it's because of the coffee. Coffee makes your stomach turn. It turns up your acidity. I'm not sure. I'm not a medical person.
That is true. I know some people that have acid reflux, and they say that their symptoms start to act up when they start to drink a coffee. They start to get symptoms of their acid reflux, like I can feel it coming on again. But if they don't drink coffee, they don't have those experience rise. The thing is, coffee, it's the process of anything really hot, anything that can cause an irritability in your stomach. It is good, but like the caffeine, all that type of stuff, like I never noticed the difference between decaf and regular. I have ADHD, so I just drink coffee for the taste. I drink it because it's warm. It doesn't give me any energy. I can drink a pot and go right to bed. Um, but I noticed like I have a little bit of like IBS and type things where I'll start getting like symptoms of like an inflamed stomach or I'll get like an irritable stomach or something. If I drink a decaf with very little caffeine in it, none of those symptoms act up. And the coffee is actually smoother. When you drink a regular coffee, it's kind of a little bit harder taste to it.
Oh, that's very interesting actually. The only yeah, as we all know, coffee, the decaf coffee is really just coffee, the regular coffee without the caffeine, and how they make decaf coffee is actually how they process it. Uh, Not quite sure if you're familiar about how coffee is farmed, but
I don't. If you want to take me through that process, it's actually what I was going to ask you because I just think some dude is picking beans out somewhere. I have no clue.
at a very high level view. So, story of the coffee is that coffee grows on shrubs. These shrubs like range from a small size. They're usually very small, but they can actually grow up to like 20 feet in Brazil. It depends on the region, but coffee grows on trees slash shrubs. They're either hand picked and or stripped, depending on how you want them to pick. And the ripe coffee fruits, in this case, they're called cherries. They're all gathered up. They're all sorted by ripeness. So usually, coffee cherry should be of a bright red color. That's usually the indication that they're ripe and that the flavors are optimal for picking. So they're sorted. Their defects are sorted out, and that's usually what commodity coffee is comprised of. So the ripe coffee cherries are then, depending on the process, because there are like three large categories of coffee processing. These are naturals, these are the washed, and the honey process. Uh, just a short description for the three processes. So you've got the coffee cherries all picked. The natural process just lays those coffee cherries out in the open for the sun to dry them and for the fruits to ferment a bit. They're periodically raked to like rotate them and have them dry evenly. This gives the end product more flavor, a bit more funkiness in its taste. I would go to tasting a bit later if we do have time to discuss.
Yeah, we got plenty of
Uh,
time, man.
sweet, sweet. Yeah. So honey process, on the other hand, those are dried up for a shorter time than the natural process, and then they have their skins, the red film, the cherries, they're stripped, and what's left is a sticky film that surrounds the bean called the mucilage. That mucilage is left for further processing. The washed process, the that deals with like washing all of those, the skin, the mucilage, and the other parts of the coffee cherry, strips them down, strips them out, or removes them, and just leaves the coffee bean itself.
Would you say that one of the problems really growing coffee in general is the fact that the reason why it's usually in some other place or different location is based on the climate? It seems like in the United States, like, yeah, we have coffee, but we kind of had to specialize the environment for it as well. It seems like it's always grown in some foreign region.
Yeah, coffee can only be grown in. I'm not sure if you can open your PC right now. It's called the Coffee Belt. That's the region in our world, the entire world, wherein coffee is grown. So it's to give you like a whole bird's eye view. It's the center where the what was it, the equator is. So that region is where coffee grows the most, and that's such the best climate, best conditions for coffee to grow. So places like Ethiopia, South Africa in general, South
More of like
America,
a
Brazil.
tropical, warm kind of climate with a lot of moisture to provide for the plant.
Yep, yep, that's right. That's it. You can't grow coffee in Sweden because it's too cold. Can't grow coffee in Australia because it's too fucking hot. You
We
can
got to make
grow
a
coffee.
brand in Alaska. Let's do it there.
Oh shit! If you can do that, fuck.
Call it Eskimo Brew.
Ooh.
Yeah, and we have a picture of an igloo on the front. There you go, marketing right there. Bam, write
Yep.
it down. Somebody stole it already. Watch. But when it comes to the first of all, like your interest in coffee in general, with your own research and stuff too. Now you call yourself, I guess you would say, a home brewer or a freelancer. Now, have you decided to make your own coffee brew?
That part actually, that would pretty much come in the future. I would say that I don't have the enough knowledge to make my own brew, and I know that fellow home brewers, they prefer single origin types of coffee. By single origin, I mean uh, the the country that coffee is coming from. That's what's on the label. As in your case, that's Sumatra coffee, African coffee, Guatemala coffee. That's a bit single origin. And for me, if I make my own blend, I don't think I don't think it would sell unless I make a name for myself in the specialty coffee world. That means that would entail actually me joining, what do you call this, the World Brewers Cup, the World Barista Championship, World Roasters Championship. Those they're like I would say the Olympics of the specialty coffee world.
See, I didn't know anything about this. Like, I didn't know there was a world, like, you would think a world competition for growing coffee. But if you start looking at how we are as people, we turn everything into a competition. I mean, there's elite league championships and Hall of Fame awards that are given to people that are professional foosball players. So why not being a barista?
Yep, exactly.
Now,
And
would you consider yourself more of a reviewer, I would say, of coffee, more of like an enthusiast? I feel like that's what it would be because even not brewing your own coffee, you do taste different and you're getting a lot of information about them as well, being able to kind of distinguish certain key features that are put into coffees, knowing like the subtle taste, um, how much time was really put into it, like if someone rushed it. I mean, it feels like our society, we're based on just how something looks. Like if it looks like a dessert, I'll drink it. And then, there's a whole art form when it even comes to coffee, which you probably know about latte art.
well, yeah, that's answering your first question. I would say that yes, I am an enthusiast. I'm a home brewer rather more than a barista. Uh, f- Firstly, because I don't have that training, and I I would say that I'm not that much of a people person. I like being alone by myself. I like small groups of people, socializing with them more than like a whole bunch of different people. But in my case, actually, I do need to network. I do need to reach out to a lot of people if I wanted to expand my name, my brand rather. That being said, being a barista entails customer relations, right? That 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 com- that entails you to put on a face. You have to put a smile on your face every damn day, even if you feel like shit. And frankly, for me, I can't do that. So I'm not a barista in that sense. And doing latte art actually is really just secondary. For me, if it looks good, then it's fine as long as it tastes good.
Is it easy though? Like I see so many people do it, and like if you want to watch the Green Hornet or something where he makes the freaking leaf perfectly in the coffee, and I'm like, is it that difficult or is it pretty simple? It just looks like it's difficult.
Oh, actually, I haven't tried latte art. I haven't done my own latte. I usually do pour over coffee. This is black coffee, right? Latte art entails you to make espresso based drinks, which is our americanos, our cappuccinos, macchiatos, and from my barista friends, they 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 make it seem easy, but when you talk about it with them, they're I've been hearing like a lot of different factors, like the milk quality, how you froth it, how long does it sit, what kind of espresso does it go to best. So, and actually, I've seen some of my friends do it in their homes. Like they have their own home espresso machines at home. They have the milk frothers and every single piece of equipment for that. And they make like, what is this? Like someone shat in my cup, but it
Someone
tastes
shit a
good.
perfectly good leaf into my cup.
If it tastes good, I'll drink it.
Look, I've taken some poops that look like latte art, so I can
But
attest
just
to that.
but just submit it to the committee.
See, when it comes though to the fact, like you were saying earlier about the whole community aspect that is with a coffee shop, it seems like I've talked to comedians, I've talked to writers. I know a few people that just go to coffee shops with some schoolwork and they just sit down and write the whole time while sipping on one cup of coffee. The environment is definitely set up for it's like the library. If you're going to read a book, the library is the perfect place to go because the environment kind of invokes it out of you rather than sitting at home. Um, but with going into a coffee shop, though, it's really strange because the way that society views coffee now is more like a sparkled up kid ready for the bus stop, whatever, it's basically a dessert. But what coffee was kind of originally started out to be was like this grouchy old man that was drinking a brew with like really bad like stubble all over his face like, yeah, I drink coffee in the morning. That was coffee. And we've adopted into this new thing like the whole reason behind baristas in general, you have to think the reason why they always are the stereotypical like blonde girl, really clean guy or something, and like no facial hair, any of those things that they have into their job description or their first of all interview process, is because of the fact is they're trying to dress up something that is not really what it is. It's not supposed to be this grouchy old man that everyone, we used to think back in the day compared to what it is now, where it's like milkshakes and shit. But we're dressing it up. So they were like, to serve this nasty thing, we have to dress it up. Well, it's only nasty because you're not really enjoying the essential flavors and really nutrients like you were talking about, having more of an experience of the actual taste when it comes to like specialty coffees.
That's actually a very good point of view, actually, and I would agree because a commodity coffee is really prepared poorly, and that's why you see, if you notice, actually, the coffee beans that are in Starbucks and other big chains, the coffee beans there are what? They're dark, they're black, right?
I mean, I guess it depends. I don't really ever get to see them show me the coffee beans. They're always fucking throwing a CD at me. I'm like, damn, I want to see how my coffee gets made first.
Yeah, but if maybe next time, since you've been talking to me, maybe you'll start pay a bit more attention, right?
I stopped going into coffee shops a long time ago because it's too much of a hassle running into a girl that's wearing Uggs constantly and that's bitching about her day. I was like, I can't do this. I just can't. When I went into my coffee shop and there was a bunch of girls wearing, they were from private school, wearing like skirts, and they're all on their cell phones, and they all just look up at you and then look back down at their cell phone. I'm like, this is a weird thing we're doing. I'm backing out slowly. Nobody kill me.
That's a that's actually very an interesting perspective.
Well, I think a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, come on. You got to look at coffee shops. Every time you walk in there, if you're getting a coffee or something, I thought Starbucks was supposed to be inviting, but people are sitting down there for 3 hours. They're not very inviting. It's more like people are turning it into
Looking
their
at their
home.
phones, huh?
We're living in a world like where we're disconnected. It's like you start being so disconnected, you start not examining what you're putting into your body, which really kind of does it a disservice if you're really actually trying to enjoy coffee.
Yep. That's actually one of the things that, in the specialty coffee world, that's one of the things that is being uh problematized about, is that, in the sense that you have this great coffee, right? The coffee is great, the product you sell is great, but the people, they're not so as receptive as you'd expect them to be, as you want them to be, because first and foremost, they're different people. They have different perspectives. If they see a cup of black coffee, they're gonna ask, what does this taste? Does it taste like sugar? Does it taste like what? Does it is it anything like my creme brulee macchiato? And of
Can
course
I
you're
get
gonna
a
say no.
can I get a unicorn frappe with a shot of caramel espresso and a Yucachuno Fritz? It's like, what the fuck did you just order? What
Yeah.
what what do you my cousin, look, I love him to death. He used to always be like, can we go to Dunkin' Donuts? I'm like, why? He's like, I want to get a coffee. I'm like, we have coffee here. Why don't we just brew up some coffee? He's like, no, I need to go get my shot of espresso. What the fuck's a shot of espresso? Why is it $4? I don't know. Look, my buddy works at that Dunkin' Donuts.
Uh-huh.
I drove there. Now, this is a thing you got to learn about Dunkin' Donuts. They don't tell you the price of your coffee until you roll up to the window when you're
Seriously?
about to pay. So
Seriously?
I was sitting at the drive-through and I was like, he told me his coffee order, and then immediately I get up to the drive-through and I'm like, I looked over at him. I was like, what the hell did you want again? And he goes, can I get a large coffee or caramel coffee with 2 shots of espresso and a cappuccino pump? And I'm like, what the fuck?
Wow.
I was like, okay, yeah, what he just said, that's what he wants. No price. I said, hang on a second. How much is it? Roll up to the first window. Hold on a second. How much is it? Roll up to the first window. Okay. I roll up to the first window. Before I even handed them the money, it says $8 on the thing. I look
Holy
at him.
shit.
I look at my cousin. I said, he hands me a $10 bill. He's like, just give it all of it to him. I looked at my buddy who's in the window. I said, why did you not tell me the price until I rolled up to the window? And he goes, that's just what we've been kind of told to do. And I was like, oh, so people just have to see the price and they expect to pay that. So you don't warn them ahead of time. I was like, how much is the shot? They're like, well, each shot's worth like 275. And he starts going into all the prices and everything. And I'm like, what does that actually do? Why can't, like, you could just hand me a regular coffee and say you put it in there.
Yeah, that's how people are. That's how people are,
Like,
I
I
guess,
don't,
molded the by big corporations into buying the shit that they spit out.
like, this brings into a bigger question that I want to ask. What is the difference between regular, specialty, espresso, cappuccino, all this shit? Because all of it, they just sound like really fancy words to dress it up. Like an espresso, they say it's supposed to be in the morning time. It's supposed to be made through an
What?
$800
What?
machine. I have no clue. And then they say a cappuccino, like when it comes to a cappuccino, it's supposed to be like a small drink with like a boost of something. And I'm like, well, what is the coffee? Can I just get coffee in a cup and then I do what I want with it? If I want to throw it on the floor, if I want to have a homeless man stick his pinky in there, can I do that? Does that turn it into something? Did that turn it into a homochino? I don't know.
Maybe try to copyright that. Might be a good idea.
With the
Might not
amount of
be.
things I say, I would have to have a copyright person beside me. They don't make any sense, but I know someone's using it out there.
Yep. Well, I'll have to tell you that I'm not an espresso person because let me take a step back. Uh, Coffee can be roughly divided into two things, whether specialty or commodity. Coffee is either made into an espresso. This is where big the big machines come in. The one you see in Starbucks, one you see in Coffee Bean.
So this is
There's
when
also
this is when the price increases by like $4.
mm, yeah, I would say yep, that's right. And there's the other one, the one that I do, which is pour over coffee. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the pictures I have in my profile. It's the one with the cone wherein the
Yeah.
coffee just drips.
Yeah, I've stalked
So
a few.
yeah, so that's those are actually the two major ways of making coffee. There are like shit ton of ways you can make coffee. You can literally just grind up some beans, put them in your cup, pour some hot water, and wait. That's coffee. As simple as that. Now, and as I have told you, I'm not an espresso guy. I'm not as knowledgeable as I am in pour over. But in espresso, the terms that they use, how do you say it? An espresso is just a shot. So you get the coffee, you put it in those, I don't know what they call those. So they're called porta filters. The one that they stick in the machines. Have you seen? Do you remember seeing
Yeah,
those?
I've seen those. The
Yeah,
filters.
yeah, yeah. So that's that, and then they press a button, and liquid gold comes out, right?
Liquid
And
gold is about how much they
exactly.
price it for.
Hmm. So that tiny cup, that's an espresso. It's like a concentrated dose of caffeine. If you add milk to it and you add a bit of foamed milk, froth milk, I'm not exactly sure. It's called a cappuccino. If you like foamed it a bit more, it's called it's called a flat white. And this is where like all the complicated um anatomies of espresso based drinks come in. That's where all the terms come in, all these Italian foreign terms that I myself am not familiar with, as I've said.
I'm telling you, that's got to be a marketing thing too. The whole aspect of how they name the stuff, because
Hmm.
if hear something like espresso or a macchiato, it makes you want to spend a little bit more money to get that. Now, just
I, I,
with coffee reviewing in general, though, like
mhm.
tasting different coffees and getting more knowledge and experience, what do you try and really narrow down? I would say, like the first thing, like me, if I grab a coffee, if it's got a little foam at the top, whatever it is, do you judge appearance first? Do you judge the color of it? Do you judge the taste first? What are you trying to really get out of your coffee experience? Like, take me through your steps.
Okay. So say I've already brewed my coffee and I have it in my hand. This cup of coffee, this cup of black coffee. I don't I don't really check the color because the color really doesn't do much. What I can say is the things that the people look for and I look for is first and foremost the aroma. So you smell the coffee, you let it cool down for a bit because if the coffee is too hot, if you just brewed it, it doesn't smell anything. It's really just steam. Um, you can smell a lot of things if you brew specialty coffee. I've smelled coffees that smelled of honey. I've smelled coffees that actually smelled of tea, jasmine, hibiscus, chamomile. That's very, it's actually very strange if you think about it because it's coffee, it's not tea. You smell flowers in your coffee. That's strange, but it is what it is.
Why does my coffee smell like roses? It's not supposed to smell like roses. It's supposed to smell like morning air in Vietnam or something.
It's supposed to smell like bullets. That's what.
That's perfect. Yes.
That's your thing, yeah.
You
And
hear the brewing of coffee, you shouldn't be thinking serene or maybe like walking into a Home Goods or a Marshall's or store, whatever, furniture store. You should immediately start thinking there's a bunch of people out in a farm somewhere that are picking this with their hands and bullets are flying everywhere.
yeah, and then they stir it with their guns.
There you go. That's a man's way of drinking a coffee. Pinky out too. You got to do the pinky out.
For class.
Exactly.
So yeah, everyone has their perspective on how coffee is, and for us specialty coffee drinkers, so there's the aroma. There's also when you drink it, you look for the primary how to sense the things that you taste first. In specialty coffee, I think I've said this before. You taste some fruits, you taste some sweetness, you taste some nuts, some cocoa, you taste a bit of bitterness or a lot depending on the coffee. You taste actually sometimes it tastes sour. There's a lot of things that come into play when you drink a cup of coffee.
Well, when it comes to just being a specialty brew of coffee, is that only they call it specialty because the amount of care and process, I guess, is different from just regular coffee?
Yes, that's one of the aspects of what specialty coffee is. The yeah, as you said, the care, the process that play into production of that particular coffee. There's also how it fares. There's actually, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's actually a grading system for coffee, for specialty coffee.
Well, like
You know,
A plus, B plus.
it's on a scale of 100.
Oh, what? Are we talking about like
Yeah.
Rotten Tomato scale? Like,
Well, there's this governing body. They're called the Specialty Coffee Association. They're the ones who laid out the foundations of what specialty coffee is in terms of how it tastes.
and even with these organizations, though, too, these are types that home brewers have to kind of, not really home brewers, but coffee makers in general have to really go by. Do they have to send it in? Like, I know a lot of people that make their own sauces or make a specialty type item that they try and sell to the public gets regulated by the FDA. Is coffee still under that regulation? It seems like it would be a whole different organization based on just the process of growing it.
I think that the specialty coffee really has to be FDA approved. That has to be it. The specialty coffee really just takes it a step further, wherein say you want your coffee to be specialty grade, to be considered specialty grade, and you want to put it in a bag that it's SCA certified. You give a bag to them. What they do is they lay it out. Oh, I don't know, in a table, probably a table. They check the beans for defects. By defects, I mean, are there holes in the bean? That means that there are insect borers. Those are pests. You take those out. That's one major defect, and you essentially start out with a perfect score, and then you subtract from there. That's how they grade the coffee by its physical appearance. They look for defects. They for like um, uh, ear. earlobes, which means that they're just a deformed coffee bean. Uh, Quakers, discolored beans. What was it? Rotten beans. So those are over fermented, as I said, major pest damage and such.
And this is a little bit different of a process than how you would typically, I guess, review a coffee. You said you don't really judge on color; you're judging more on like the smell of the coffee. But when you go to a coffee shop, maybe not brewing some at your own, like you've had to go to a coffee shop at some point and just kind of taste it. I mean, the wide varieties too, especially if you're brewing it at home. The essential kind of brands that you're buying, you must be experiencing a bunch of different ones that a lot of people don't pick up. I mean, I think a lot of what it does when it comes to, first of all, making and selling a product is obviously advertisement, how the really can looks if it's grabbing somebody's attention. But I've seen those things that are like like a coffee that had Japanese lettering on it, and I'm like, wow, this is weird. And I drink it, and it's like jet fuel where you're up for like 6 days straight.
Actually, yeah, marketing is actually like another aspect. I mean, much like anything else, right? It's good, but if you want to rake in like a lot of people to buy it, you have to ask somebody, hey, market this for me.
Well, I'm looking for like essential tips that like, if someone's listening out there that wants to actually, get a good coffee brand or experience a good coffee, what are the stuff that you've really type of learned kind of tasting coffee? Like for me, first thing that hits me is usually the taste. Is it too black? Is it too bland? Is there no flavor to it? I like my coffee to have a little bit of taste to it so I'm not just drinking straight death.
Mhm. Yeah, actually, if you where do you live by? Which state?
I'm in Ocean City, Maryland, so United States.
Maryland. I'm. I think there are a bunch of local roasters over there. The East Coast, maybe you can drive somewhere near. There are. Not, is Washington near Maryland? I'm not sure.
It's about 2 hours away.
Uh huh. New York,
It's about even longer.
mm, Jersey.
I'll that's about 2 hours. Everything's basically the big cities that you're thinking of probably are about 2 hours away.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll drive it there if they teach me how to really get more in touch with, I guess, the coffee spirit inside of me. I mean, shit, man. I mean, even drinking those syrups and stuff, like they're good. I like doing it, and I'm still gonna keep doing it. But you got to find a healthy alternative too, because there are
Yep.
definitely some health risks when being associated with it.
Yep. I get where you're coming from, and getting transitioning into specialty coffee will give you what you want actually, and as an added benefit, your coffee tastes good as it is.
Now, even with kind of not brewing your own coffee, but experiencing your different flavors, you've had to come across at one point in your life, like starting your own coffee brand, which you said was in the future, but coming up with an idea of what you would call it. What ideas have you thought of? I can think of like 50 right now.
Really. Mm. Right now, actually, uh, as you know, my brand is called Brew and Me. It's if you dissect the words a bit, there's nothing really much to dissect. It's more of an inclusive term wherein it's you and me, sharing a cup of coffee, sharing conversation, sharing each other's thoughts over coffee, with coffee as the primary gluing factor. That being said, one of the things that I think of, which actually is what I'm planning to do in the very near future over here, is have you say what you could say an introductory experience to specialty coffee, wherein you come into a shop, you come into a place, the event, you see me and maybe a couple of my friends, and will tell you, what do you look for in a coffee? Do you want it strong? Do you want it to taste like guns? Do you want it to taste like flowers? Do you want it to taste like fruits, nuts, woods? You tell us, and we'll brew it for you. And we'll give you different cups for you to explore. That way, your palate will be opened up and your perspective will be opened up to specialty coffee, so that the next time you come into a shop and you ask them, hey, can I get a cup of coffee? And this is going to be a specialty coffee. And say you want to try this particular store's specialty coffee. Come into there, you taste the coffee, and it doesn't taste like the way that you want it. You're gonna think to yourself, not in the sense that this is not coffee, and leave and never have specialty coffee again. But you're gonna tell yourself, this is just not my cup, because specialty coffees are very wide discipline wherein you can you can fit yourself into anything. And that's what I think. Everyone has his or her cup of coffee. It doesn't have it should not be commodity coffee. It has to be specialty coffee. And for those people who don't like the things that they've tasted, the things that say like I've made or anyone's made for them, it's just really not their preference. It's not their cup.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is you want to open up your own coffee shop that specializes in specialty coffee, but creating an overall experience that's different from most of the coffee shops around, such as like a Starbucks that really just go on the corporate factor of things, but more taking
Exactly.
into consideration people's tastes and people's thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want out of a coffee? Then they answer, and then you make a coffee for them based on the things that they gave you, the information they gave you, being able to read somebody and tell what they like. See, what I started with my podcast, which has really gotten out of the coffee industry, was the whole factor of essential conversation, taking the time, an hour, sometimes longer, just to really have a conversation, because that's what you get. Like if we're sitting down drinking a coffee together, okay, you start to find the realness of it. One of the best things I thought about drinking coffee that has been lost in a Starbucks, because everybody's on their phones, everybody's doing their own thing, nobody ever wants to have a conversation anymore. The best part of a coffee shop was being able to relax and being able to engage in that conversation with someone,
Exactly.
pick up moments of life that you haven't connected to, find out information, talk to someone, get their story, or just have a good chat. These were all things that were done over coffee, and it's been turned into something where now when you say coffee, you think of the generic store brand or you think of Starbucks and you get the typical white girl in your head. You don't, it does it a whole disservice, a whole discredit to it in general. If you go around saying you're a coffee brewer, they immediately think you wear a green apron and work at Starbucks.
I actually have to give credit to Starbucks because they are the ones who brought the culture into life, the coffee culture into life. Because correct me if I'm wrong, in the US, coffee used to be Folgers, right? And Maxwell House.
Yeah.
That's like the very first cups of coffee, and people didn't know where's this coming from. What is this coffee thing, right? And then Starbucks came out and introduced like, hey, coffee comes from this, coffee comes from that. You can have this, and
You can get a
they bring
fucking teddy
in
bear with your coffee if you want one. Like Starbucks, they
why not?
started
Why
out.
the fuck not?
Look, they started out with good intentions, and then they turned into
Yes,
now what looks like they tried to copy everything off Chick-fil-A's chocolate milkshake recipe or something. You know, you go to Chick-fil-A, says, "Hey, we got a special time season coming in. We got pumpkin spice milkshake," and then next thing you know, Starbucks is like, "We got a pumpkin spice frappuccino. We got the mint shamrock shake that you can get for a limited time." It's like, what's happening? What happened to just getting coffee with a little bit of foam up top? You know, not too much where I drink it and I feel like I just got like diabetes, man.
exactly, exactly. Because I have been to places like in Japan wherein the coffee shops are really just booths. Like there's this one bar with three coffee brewing setups with three people brewing coffee. What happened? And people are lining up here because they're a big name. So people line up, they sit down. The guy asks you, "What do you want?" And then you tell them what you want, and then they show you this catalog of coffee beans. There's this one compartment wherein the beans are light light brown in color, and this is the origin. There's this coffee that's a bit more dark but not black. None of the coffees are black, and it's coming from this region and that and that and that. You tell them, I think that this is what I like. They brew that for you, and then you tell them, and then they ask you, is this what you like? And he said, if you say no, then they'll ask you, what do you want? And they'll brew it again. That's fucking amazing for me because one, you take that dedication to engage each and every customer into into telling into them telling what they want and you giving it to them. And two, fuck, specialty coffee is expensive and they give it out for free. They give samples out for free, and at the end they ask you if you want to buy a coffee, this particular coffee bean. They give you this little sample of the coffee bean itself, and they give you instructions on how to brew. And that's really something. You come in, you want a cup of coffee, you get an experience, you get the whole coffee bean itself, and you get some instructions, and you actually get the whole perspective to what specialty coffee is, right? That's something that I want to do over here. But unfortunately, we're talking about money. We're talking about business, which is not really a good in terms of the specialty coffee business in the Philippines.
Don't you feel like it's a little bit messed up that we're living in a world that essentializes on quantity over quality?
Yeah,
It's
I honestly do.
it
It's
does
really shit.
a major discredit to people like yourself that want to actually help people find a good
Mhm.
brand of coffee or just be able to
Exactly.
experience something. How many places do we go to that are losing money or closing down only because they care more about their customer having a wonderful experience rather than having, whatever a quantity or quality, if they don't get a bunch of customers. I've been to so many small businesses that have been shut down over time just because they've been bought out because they're not making as much money as the main corporate places that, sugar coated up. I could easily make so much money making coffee if I just brewed Folgers coffee and dumped a bunch of good ass shit in it to the point where you're like, it tastes amazing. It tastes like caramel and a unicorn fart. But what about the essential part of like maybe all that stuff after time is going to lead up and start playing major effects into your body? I think a lot of people need to keep in mind that it's more
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
enjoying an experience and finding a place that really takes into consideration you as a person. It's why a lot of small town businesses, such as like restaurant owners that don't ever go out and expand, other types of, when we talk about a brewery or something, when they start being involved with the community, you create a wholeness and it makes you more relatable to your audience, which is something that I hope gets brought back. We're seeing it a little bit more now, but
Yep.
with the thought on where do you think coffee is going to go in the future based on things that are happening today, do you think it's going to turn into keep going this route? Do you think people are going to start waking up and become more health conscious where they're going to start brewing their own, maybe getting into specialty coffees? Or do you think that it's always going to be this going to a place, dealing with a guy with a Bluetooth, getting your name spelled wrong on a coffee, getting a milkshake instead of a coffee? Do you think it's going to continue going down this road just because it's simple and that's what we're living in a fast paced world? Or do you think people are going to start being more health conscious now that we're starting to look at health a little bit more?
I am looking at it at an optimistic point of view. Um, I've actually been trying to get into the loop into how specialty coffee business, the industry is around the world. And in Europe, the number of specialty coffee shops that are opening are on the rise, which is a very good thing. That 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 means that people are starting to get into specialty coffee. More and more people are getting to that. More and more cafes are realizing the demand for it. That's hence the decision to open one. And I'm very hopeful that it would be the same thing over in the other regions. And actually, even in the Philippines, actually, it's one of actually the things that I'm hopeful, because what we're doing is exactly right like that. We're trying to build a community of people who love specialty coffee, and with that, we're trying to share our experiences, share the knowledge that they have, share the amazing potential that coffee can give you as compared to just drinking soil. And yeah, I'm very optimistic. I'm very hopeful, and I'm sure that it's on it's on a good track, especially the especially because of the turn of our generations, that younger people are getting a bit more uh conscious,
They're being more
getting a bit
savvy. That's what's
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
They need to stop
Mhm.
taking so many Instagram pictures of their drink before they drink it. They just need to do it out. I don't know how many Snapchats I see in the morning of people that are just taking pictures of their
Oh
coffee.
yeah.
Went to Starbucks. I'm like, I bet you paid $12 for that. But when,
Yeah, they don't care. It's for the IG, right? No, fuck you.
yeah, when it comes to the essential factors, though, you're not really talking about brewing your own coffee, which is probably a thought that you've had, but more on the aspect of trying to bring people into a realization of how important specialty coffee is.
Because I think that teaching how to brew, anyone can learn that, and they can. And I think that if it piques your someone's interest, if they have that interest in specialty coffee, that question of how can I brew this at home, it will come naturally. Because actually, in my circle, actually, like people have been asking me, hey, what is this that you're doing? Hey, I'm brewing specialty coffee. And I always take the time to tell them, hey, if you want to try specialty coffee, come over. My place is open. They come over, they taste the coffee and say, this is so good. How can I do this? And then I run him through the works. Because talking about, I'm talking about, say, marketing in this sense. I mean, as I've said, like if your product is good, that's all good. But you gotta you gotta present it in a such a way that people will want to try it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the product really has to be there, but you really just have to think about the box, the ribbon that comes of it, and that that ribbon is what Starbucks capitalizes so much and what's successful at.
Now, even with all those coffee shops that are starting to open up near you and stuff, how are you going to make yours differently? I already know the name of your coffee shop. Do you have one in mind?
It's probably gonna be Brew and Me, the same thing.
Dude, I'm telling you,
Um,
if you're talking about just specialty coffees, you should call it What's So Special.
I'll have to let that stew for a bit in my mind. That actually shows promise.
What's so special? People are like, why is it called What's So Special? Like, we focus on specialty coffees. And then they're like, but what's special about it? Well, let me show you. Bam, pitch idea. Let's go. And then I don't even know. I could go off on these. I mean, I'm a marketing freaking idiot, but I can think of some good shit. Trust me.
No. That's actually a pretty good idea. Uh, you'll see it in one of my posts. Fuck, you'll see it in one of my posts. I will tag you. Don't worry.
I'm excited for it, man. I think it shows promise too. I think a lot of these old crafts, people, these old ideas, and first of all, people want to experience something. We're not really doing it anymore, and it's starting to become newer. Phones, all these other types of things that we have really keep us disconnected from an engaging conversation. Um, and first of all, being in tune with just knowing more information about us, learning information, and having a good time. We have good times when we have them on our phones, but they're not real moments. You don't want to get nostalgia off your phone. You want to create actual memories that show promise. And first of all, get information from the world that has so much to offer as well.
Yep, completely agree.
Well, I really appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast, Ken. I want to give you here a minute at the end to kind of promote your content to your Instagram page so people can find your work and maybe come to you if they have any coffee, advice or if they have anything they want to ask you.
For everyone who's listening, my tag is Brew and Me. You can search it on Instagram. Brew, that's BREW .N.me. If you have any questions about specialty coffee, how to brew, where to find roasters in your area, I can certainly help you out with that. If you're in the Philippines, just hit me up. We'll connect. If you're abroad, I'm always here. The internet connects us all. I'm just one PM away if you need anything with regards to specialty coffee. I'm your guy.
And when he says abroad, he means if you're, overseas or if you're doing something not,
Right. Sorry.
yeah. I'm just
term in the
joking with you.
Philippines.
As
Oh,
someone's, I just brought that in, but no, I really appreciate you coming out, Ken, and doing the
I
podcast. And
appreciate it so much as well, Rob. Thank you so much.
thank you so much for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.